Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you for holding this hearing today and for each of those who are joining us on the panel. Before I begin my questions, I've got to make it perfectly clear that personally I am opposed to all gambling in every shape, form, or fashion, be it in person or online or whatever it may be. Having been a pastor for over 25 years, I've personally seen the destruction of various addictions and gambling being among them. So this type of hearing puts me somewhat in a quandary to begin with, because I am opposed to gambling altogether. And I fully agree with Georgia's Governor, Nathan Deal, who has publicly opposed the construction of a casino in Metro Atlanta, and who I also know for a fact opposes any lottery offerings that resemble casino games. So I'm opposed to gambling. But that being said, I'm also a supporter of the 10th Amendment and our Constitution and the right of states. And whether the fact is the people of Georgia voted to have a lottery. And there's no question that the Georgia lottery has contributed over $1 billion to the Hope Scholarship and pre-K education since its inception in 1994. No one can deny the contribution to those programs. And I also know that the Georgia Lottery has been in recent years exploring online sales, and in fact they've contributed and invested a considerable amount of money to ensure that those sales that customers make are in accordance with both state and federal law. So all that being said, my first question is really to each of you in a brief answer, but if the technology exists to ensure that online sales are kept away from minors and kept within the state of Georgia alone, why does the federal government have a role to play? Or does it? I'll just start, Mr. Campbell, with you.
Right. So I'm not here to take a particular position in regard to all the aspects of your question, but just again to reiterate that the FBI enforces the laws as they exist, and as we receive information about criminal activity, that's really our role.
Mr. Wilson.
The Wire Act was originally ushered in through the Kennedy administration, when then U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy was the Attorney General for the United States, in an effort to help states. There is no violation of state sovereignty or 10th Amendment, because Congress has the authority under Article 1, Section 8 to regulate interstate commerce. A brick-and-mortar building is not—
Talking about in the state of Georgia, though, not interstate. If the technology is there to stay within the state, what role does the federal government have? That's my question. And please be quick. I've got just a couple of minutes left.
If it crosses state lines in an Internet transaction, you have a role in that regard.
That is not my question, though. Mr. Klein?
Well, the very essence of what we're talking about here is the Internet has such interstate complications. As a local prosecutor, that's what we're looking for, is some help from the federal government to say, hey, we can't handle this. And I'm not aware of any way, if Nebraska said, we want to ban the Internet, there's no way that's going to happen. People are going to have access to the Internet. So we're looking for help.
What would you say?
The technology exists to keep it within the state border. So in your direct question shortly is that there wouldn't be a role in that sense.
Oh,
there may be business ideas down the line that may incorporate multi-state activities, but the quick answer to your question is they wouldn't have a role.
Okay, Mr. Campbell, are you aware of any circumstances where the Georgia Lottery has failed to comply with state or federal law?
As I sit here, I really do not have any information about the Georgia Lottery in general, sir.
Okay. Well, my time is wrapping up, but it just seems to me that the federal government should not be dictating to the states how they operate their state lotteries or casinos, state-sanctioned casinos, if those states have chosen to go that route. And, I mean, we've got to protect the 10th Amendment, whether or not we like the gambling issue as a whole. And frankly, if there's any legislation that infringes upon states' rights in that regard, I believe it flies right in the face of our constitutions and the limited powers that the Constitution provides. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you and I yield back.